The ultimatum captain Elena Vasquez stood in the center of the massive council chamber, feeling smaller than she had ever felt in her life. The chamber was built to intimidate, with its soaring ceiling that disappeared into darkness above and its walls of living crystal that pulsed with alien light. Around her, arranged in a perfect circle on floating platforms, sat the representatives of the 7 most powerful species in the galaxy. Each platform was designed for a different type of alien physiology. The Zephyrians floated in tanks of methane gas, their tentacled forms writhing as they communicated through color changes on their skin. The Karathi delegation towered above the others, their insectoid bodies gleaming with natural armor plating. The mechanical Synthex collective hummed with electronic voices that spoke in perfect unison. But it was Council Prime Regent Kythera who commanded the most attention. The leader of the Draxian Empire stood nearly 3 meters tall, his reptilian features marked with the ritual scars that showed his rank. His golden eyes held no warmth as they fixed on Elena, and when he spoke, his voice carried the authority of someone who had never been challenged. "Human," Kythera began, making the word sound like an insult. "You have requested this audience to discuss your species' status within our galactic community. We have decided to grant your request, though we question whether your primitive minds can comprehend the generosity we are about to show you." Elena kept her face neutral, though inside she felt her anger building. She had been Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council for 3 years, and in that time she had watched these aliens treat humanity like children who occasionally needed to be reminded of their place. Today she suspected that reminder was going to be particularly harsh. "Thank you, Prime Regent," Elena replied, her voice steady despite the weight of 7 alien gazes upon her. "Humanity appreciates the Council's time and consideration." One of the Karathi delegates clicked its mandibles together, and what Elena had learned was their equivalent of laughter. "Appreciation," it buzzed through its translator. "How quaint. Tell us, human, what is it your species wants now? More mining rights in the Outer Rim? Permission to expand your little colonies to another dozen worthless worlds?" Elena straightened, her shoulders. She wore her best diplomatic uniform, dark blue with the golden insignia of Earth's united government, but she knew the aliens saw only another example of human weakness. They had no idea how wrong they were. "Actually," Elena said, "humanity requests full membership in the Galactic Council. We want equal representation, equal access to trade routes, and equal treatment under galactic law." The silence that followed was broken by sounds that Elena recognized as alien laughter. The Zephyrians' colors flashed in rapid patterns of yellow and orange. The Synthex collective's harmonious humming took on a mocking tone. Even the usually stoic Karathi seemed amused. Prime Regent Kythera raised one clawed hand and the chamber fell silent. "Equal membership," he repeated slowly, as if tasting the words. "You want equality with species that have traveled the stars for millennia while your people were still learning to make fire. You want equality with civilizations that have mastered technologies beyond your comprehension." He leaned forward on his platform, his golden eyes narrowing. "Human, your species has existed in space for barely 2 centuries. Your ships are slow and clumsy. Your weapons are primitive. Your colonies exist only because we allow them to exist. What could you possibly offer that would make you worthy of equality?" Elena had expected this response, but hearing it still stung. Earth's colonies were indeed small and scattered, placed on worlds that the Council considered worthless. Humanity's space fleet was outnumbered thousands to 1 by the combined forces of the 7 Council species. On paper, the aliens were absolutely right. "We offer our perspective," Elena said. "Our innovation, our determination. Humanity has a unique approach to problem solving that could benefit the entire galaxy." This time the laughter was even louder. The Draxian delegate beside Kythera actually slapped his platform with his tail. "Innovation," he hissed. "Determination. Pretty words, but words do not move planets or power starships." Prime Regent Kythera stood up to his full imposing height. "Since you have wasted our time with this ridiculous request, We have decided to save you from yourselves. Humanity has been allowed too much freedom, and it has made you arrogant. It is time for a correction." Elena felt her stomach drop. She had feared this moment for months. Intelligence reports from Earth had suggested that the Council was planning something, but she had hoped they were wrong. "All human colonies will be relocated within the next standard year," Kithara announced. "Your people will be moved to designated worlds where they can contribute meaningfully to galactic society. Mining worlds, agricultural worlds, industrial worlds where your labor will finally serve a useful purpose." The other delegates nodded approvingly. Elena realized they had planned this before she even arrived. Her request for equality had just given them an excuse to announce what they had already decided. "These designated worlds," Elena said carefully. "Would we govern ourselves there?" Kithara's mouth opened in what might have been a smile, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Government is for civilized species. Your people will be supervised by council administrators who will ensure you remain productive and do not cause trouble." Elena understood. They were not talking about relocation. They were talking about slavery. 2 billion humans scattered across 47 worlds would be rounded up and forced into labor camps. Families would be separated. Children would grow up knowing only work and servitude. "And if humanity refuses?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. The Karathi delegate answered first. "Refusal is not an option. Our combined fleets number in the hundreds of thousands. Your entire space force could be eliminated in a single day. Your worlds could be bombarded from orbit until nothing remains but glass and ash. However," Kithara added, his voice taking on a tone of mock generosity, "we are not unreasonable. We understand that even primitive species can feel attachment to their homes. We will give you 72 standard hours to communicate our decision to Earth and begin preparing for orderly relocation." 72 hours. Elena's mind raced. It would take 36 hours just to send a message to Earth, and another 36 for a reply to come back. The Council was giving humanity barely enough time to surrender, let alone prepare any kind of response. "May I ask?" Elena said. "What brought about this decision? Has humanity committed some offense against the Council?" The mechanical voices of the Synthex Collective spoke in unison. "Your offense is existence without purpose. Your offense is consuming resources that could be better utilized by superior species. Your offense is believing yourselves worthy of respect you have not earned." Prime Regent Kithara stepped down from his platform and walked slowly around Elena, his claws clicking on the crystal floor. She forced herself to remain still as he circled her like a predator examining prey. "You want to know what your species lacks," he said. "You lack power. True power. The kind of power that shapes worlds and bends space itself. You have numbers, yes. You have stubborn determination, certainly. But you do not have the strength to enforce your will upon the galaxy." He stopped directly in front of her, towering over her small human frame. "In 72 hours, you will return here with your government's acceptance of our terms. If you do not, we will demonstrate exactly what real power looks like." Elena nodded slowly. "I understand, Prime Regent. I will convey your message to Earth immediately." "Good," Kithara said. "This audience is concluded. Guards will escort you back to your ship." As Elena walked out of the chamber, flanked by 2 massive Draxian guards, she could hear the Council delegates already discussing the logistics of human relocation. They talked about her species like cargo to be moved, resources to be allocated. She had never felt such cold, calculated dismissal of human worth. But as they reached her small diplomatic vessel, Elena allowed herself a small smile. The Council had made one critical error in their arrogance. They assumed that what they could see was all that existed. They believed that humanity's visible fleet and obvious colonies represented the sum total of human capability. They had no idea about Project Shadow Strike. As soon as her ship cleared the station's docking bay, Elena activated her ship's most secure communication system. The message she sent was brief and coded, but its meaning was clear to anyone who knew the right frequencies. Package delivery required. Customer satisfaction guaranteed. 72 hours to showroom opening. The message streaked across space toward a location that did not appear on any galactic chart. In the shadow of a rogue planet drifting between star systems, Dr. Marcus Chen received the transmission in his hidden laboratory. The brilliant physicist looked up from his work and smiled grimly. For 15 years, ever since humanity's first contact with the Galactic Council, Dr. Chen had been preparing for this day. He had seen the contempt in alien eyes, heard the dismissal in their voices. He had watched as humanity was assigned the role of junior partner in a galaxy that saw them as barely evolved animals. But Dr. Chen had also seen something the aliens had missed. In their arrogance, they had shared their technology freely, believing humans too primitive to understand its true potential. They had allowed human scientists to study their ships, their weapons, their power sources. They had even permitted humans to mine dark matter from the edges of known space, thinking it too dangerous for primitive minds to weaponize. They had been catastrophically wrong. Dr. Chen activated his own communication system, sending signals to 47 hidden locations throughout human space. At each location, crews that had trained in absolute secrecy for over a decade began their final preparations. All stations, this is Control, Dr. Chen broadcast. Phoenix Protocol is now active. Repeat, Phoenix Protocol is active. Begin countdown. To emergence. In the hidden shipyards of the Kepler system, Admiral Sarah Kim stood on the bridge of the UHS Phantom, flagship of humanity's secret dark matter fleet. The ship was invisible to conventional sensors, its hull absorbing electromagnetic radiation like a black hole absorbs light. Around her, 19 identical vessels prepared for their first and potentially last mission. Admiral, her tactical officer reported. All ships report ready for hyperspace transit. Admiral Kim nodded. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, but she commanded the most advanced military force in galactic history. The ships under her command could phase in and out of normal space at will. Their weapons could unmake matter at the quantum level. Their defenses could render them effectively invulnerable to conventional attack. Signal all vessels, she ordered. In 72 hours, the galaxy is going to learn that humanity is not as helpless as we appear. Today, we stop being the galaxy's pets. Today, we become players in the great game. As Elena's diplomatic ship raced back toward Earth, carrying news of the Council's ultimatum, she had no way of knowing that her message had already triggered the largest military operation in human history. Across human space, families went about their daily lives unaware that their fate would be decided not by surrender or negotiation, but by technologies that would make the gods themselves take notice. The Galactic Council had demanded humanity's submission within 72 hours. They were about to discover that humanity had a very different response in mind. The countdown had begun. But Dr. Chen had also seen something the aliens had missed. In their arrogance, they had shared their technology freely, believing humans too primitive to understand its true potential. They had allowed human scientists to study their ships, their weapons, their power sources. They had even permitted humans to mine dark matter from the edges of known space, thinking it too dangerous for primitive minds to weaponize. They had been catastrophically wrong. Dr. Chen activated his own communication system, sending signals to 47 hidden locations throughout human space. At each location, crews that had trained in absolute secrecy for over a decade began their final preparations. All stations, this is Control, Dr. Chen broadcast. Phoenix Protocol is now active. Repeat, Phoenix Protocol is active. Begin countdown. To emergence. In the hidden shipyards of the Kepler system, Admiral Sarah Kim stood on the bridge of the UHS Phantom, flagship of humanity's secret dark matter fleet. The ship was invisible to conventional sensors, its hull absorbing electromagnetic radiation like a black hole absorbs light. Around her, 19 identical vessels prepared for their first and potentially last mission. Admiral, her tactical officer reported. All ships report ready for hyperspace transit. Admiral Kim nodded. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, but she commanded the most advanced military force in galactic history. The ships under her command could phase in and out of normal space at will. Their weapons could unmake matter at the quantum level. Their defenses could render them effectively invulnerable to conventional attack. "Signal all vessels," she ordered. "In 72 hours, the galaxy is going to learn that humanity is not as helpless as we appear. Today, we stop being the galaxy's pets. Today, we become players in the great game." As Elena's diplomatic ship raced back toward Earth, carrying news of the Council's ultimatum, she had no way of knowing that her message had already triggered the largest military operation in human history. Across human space, families went about their daily lives unaware that their fate would be decided not by surrender or negotiation, but by technologies that would make the gods themselves take notice. The Galactic Council had demanded humanity's submission within 72 hours. They were about to discover that humanity had a very different response in mind. The countdown had begun. Kythera raised his hand for silence, his own amusement evident. "Counter-proposal? You seem to misunderstand your situation, human. This was not a negotiation. This was a notification. Your species has no leverage to make counter-proposals." "That's where you're wrong," Elena replied calmly. You've made one critical error in your calculations. You assumed that what you could detect represented the full extent of human capabilities. You assumed that a species you considered primitive couldn't possibly have secrets worth keeping. The unease in Kythera's chest grew stronger. Something in the human's tone suggested this was not the desperate bluff of a defeated species. This sounded like confidence backed by knowledge. "What are you talking about?" he demanded. Elena activated a small device she carried, projecting a holographic display into the center of the chamber. The display showed what appeared to be technical specifications for a type of starship unlike anything in the Council databases. The design was sleek and angular, with strange geometric patterns that seemed to bend light around them. "For the past 15 years, Elena began, while you've been treating humanity as a minor annoyance to be managed, our scientists have been studying your technology, learning from it, improving upon it. You gave us access to dark matter mining operations because you thought we were too primitive to understand its true potential." The display changed, showing construction facilities hidden in the outer system of an unremarkable star. Massive shipyards that had been disguised as asteroid mining operations. Assembly lines producing vessels that looked like they had been crafted from crystallized shadow. "You were wrong," Elena continued. "We understood perfectly. We just chose not to advertise our understanding." Admiral Vorthak leaned forward on his platform. "Impossible. Our sensors monitor all human space. We would have detected construction on this scale." "Your sensors detect what we want them to detect," Elena replied. "Dark matter technology has some very interesting properties when it comes to sensor stealth. But you'd know that if you'd bothered to study it instead of just using it to power your ships." Prime Regent Kythera felt something he had not experienced in decades: genuine uncertainty. The specifications displayed in the hologram showed weapon systems that should have been impossible, defensive capabilities that violated known physics and propulsion technology that could theoretically outperform anything in the Council fleet. "Even if this is real," he said slowly, "you cannot have many such ships. Our intelligence indicates your entire industrial capacity could not support more than a handful of advanced vessels." Elena's smile widened. "Our intelligence indicates that your intelligence needs better intelligence." The chamber's alarm system suddenly activated, filling the air with a piercing wail that meant only one thing: unidentified vessels detected. Admiral Vorthak was already moving to his command station, his claws flying over the control surfaces as he accessed the tactical network. "Multiple contacts appearing on long-range sensors," he reported, his voice tight with confusion. "Configuration unknown. They're just appearing out of nowhere." The main display shifted to show the sensor readings from the Council fleet. At the edge of sensor range, ships were materializing from what appeared to be empty space. First 5, then 10, then 20. Each one matched the specifications Elena had shown them, sleek and dark, and radiating energy signatures that made the sensors struggle to maintain lock. Allow me to introduce you to the human dark matter fleet, Elena said conversationally. 20 ships, each one equipped with technology your species helped us develop. Quantum phase drives that allow them to slip in and out of normal space. Dark matter weapons that can disrupt the fundamental forces holding your molecules together. And defensive systems that make them effectively immune to conventional attack. Admiral Vorthak's voice carried a note of panic now. Prime Regent, the unknown vessels are moving into attack formation. They're surrounding our fleet. Kithra stared at the tactical display in growing horror. The human ships were moving with impossible precision, executing maneuvers that should have been beyond the capability of any known technology. They flickered in and out of normal space like ghosts, appearing wherever they chose regardless of the Council fleet's defensive formations. "This is impossible," breathed the Karathi delegate. "No species achieves this level of technology so quickly. It takes millennia to develop such capabilities. Most species don't have the advantage of studying 7 different advanced civilizations simultaneously," Elena replied. "You gave us access to your technology, your databases, your scientific theories. You treated us like students who weren't smart enough to understand the lessons. What you didn't realize is that sometimes the best way to learn is to combine knowledge from different sources in ways the original teachers never imagined." The human fleet had completed its encirclement of the Council forces. 800 of the galaxy's most advanced warships were now surrounded by 20 vessels that had appeared from nowhere and moved like nothing in recorded history. "Admiral Kim to Council Command," a new voice spoke over the communication system. "This is Admiral Sarah Kim of the United Human Space Forces. You are surrounded and outgunned. Power down your weapons and prepare to receive our terms." Primicus. Regent Kethera felt his world tilting on its axis. Outgunned? The Council fleet outnumbered the humans 40-1. Each Council ship was a proven weapon of war that had conquered dozens of worlds. How could 20 mysterious vessels, regardless of their technology, pose a serious threat to such overwhelming numerical superiority? "Human ships," Admiral Vorthak broadcast, his voice carrying all the authority of his rank. "You are vastly outnumbered. Stand down immediately or face destruction." Admiral Kim's response was calm and professional. "Admiral, with respect, your numerical advantage is irrelevant. Allow me to demonstrate." On the tactical display, one of the human ships seemed to simply vanish from normal space. The Council sensors lost all contact with it, as if it had never existed. Then, without warning, it materialized directly behind one of the Karathi battlecruisers. A beam of what looked like liquid darkness lanced out from the human vessel. Where it touched the Karathi ship, the hull didn't explode or melt. It simply ceased to exist, leaving a perfectly smooth hole that went completely through the vessel from stern to bow. The battlecruiser, a 1,000-meter warship that had served in 50 major battles, drifted powerless in space. Its crew was unharmed, but its engines, weapons, and life support systems had been surgically removed from existence. "Dark matter disintegration beam," Elena explained to the stunned Council delegates. "It disrupts the quantum bonds holding matter together. Very precise, very clean. Your ship still exists, Admiral, but the parts that made it dangerous are gone forever." The demonstration had taken less than 30 seconds. One moment the Council had numerical superiority. The next moment they were forced to confront the reality that their numbers meant nothing against technology that could phase in and out of existence at will. "You have a choice," Admiral Kim continued over the communication channel. "You can order your fleet to stand down and begin negotiations for a new galactic order, or we can disable every ship in your fleet one by one. Your weapons cannot target us when we're phased. Your shields cannot protect you from weapons that operate on quantum principles. Your numerical advantage becomes meaningless when we can choose when and where to engage." Prime Regent Kethera stared at the tactical display, watching as the human ships moved through his fleet like sharks through a school of fish. Every tactical principle he had learned over decades of military service was suddenly obsolete. How do you fight an enemy that can become intangible at will? How do you plan strategy against weapons that erase their targets from existence? "What do you want?" he asked, His voice barely above a whisper. Elena stepped forward. No longer the supplicant seeking mercy, but a representative of a power that had just rewritten the galactic balance. Full membership in the Galactic Council. Equal representation, equal access to trade routes, and equal treatment under galactic law. The same things I asked for 3 days ago. And if we refuse, then you'll discover that humanity has learned more than just advanced technology over the past 15 years, Elena replied. We've learned that respect is not given freely in this galaxy. It must be earned through strength. Today we've demonstrated that strength. Tomorrow we begin using it to create a galaxy where intelligence and innovation matter more than age and arrogance. The council chamber fell silent, except for the quiet hum of the station systems. Outside, 20 human warships held the combined might of 7 species at their mercy, their dark hulls absorbing light like black holes made manifest. Prime Regent Cathara looked around at his fellow council members and saw his own shock reflected in their alien features. In a single afternoon, the established order of the galaxy had been overturned by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Very well, he said finally. Humanity will be granted full membership in the Galactic Council. Welcome to the new galactic order, Ambassador Vasquez. Elena nodded graciously. Thank you, Prime Regent. I look forward to working with you as equals. As the council delegates began the process of formally accepting humanity's new status, Elena allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. The galaxy would never again underestimate the species that had learned to harness the fundamental forces of creation itself. Humanity had finally taken its place among the stars not as supplicants, but as equals, and the universe would never be the same.